The big fish is about to get caught. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball along with Jeff the Dog Healy. Where do we start? Why am I wearing a fishing vest? Why is that? For those of you who are watching, it's because the biggest fish of the free agent market is apparently down to two teams. Trevor Bauer is expected to be a Met or a Dodger by the weekend.
One team.
Speak when you are spoken to, Dog. He might want this Trevor Bauer. He might want to go to FMS Graphics to order some change of address cards. FMSgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. Maybe the Mets want to order some Bauer pens or the Dodgers some Bauer flashlights. Dog is going to say the Mets. We want you to follow the show, Diamond Diehards, on YouTube. We need you to subscribe, and we want you to subscribe there. Check out the videos. Also, subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast apps. We need it. Join the Facebook group if you're watching this live. Then you might not have actually joined the Facebook group yet. We want you to actually hit that little join or like button there on the Facebook group if you're good enough to be watching us in this moment. And if you happen to be catching it, later, please subscribe there. We also have a Facebook page, so if you run into that, then like us over there. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at Diamond Diehards, Twitch TV, everywhere. We're Diamond Diehards everywhere. So Bauer is about to land in the boat somewhere. I got that. My fashion consultant tonight was me. I dug out this vest. This is the first time I've had this vest, Dog. I've had this vest since before we went to Australia in like 2016. This is literally the first time I've ever worn it. I'm like, I like it. I just, it always feels like I'm going fishing or something, and I'm not much of a fisherman. But let's not break too far from tradition here. And we make sure that when we bring in the dog, he brings us a very special veteran of the day.
All right, Riz. Starting off with our veteran of the day. It's always a special one. I gotta say, I've learned a ton actually researching this one already. Our veteran of the day is Garry Maddox. So Garry Maddox, very interesting story. It totally fits in with Black History Month as well, I think. This is set back in the late 60s, so 1968. Maddox gets drafted by the Giants. Give him $1,000 as a bonus. Give him $500 a month. Go play rookie ball in Salt Lake City. Sounds pretty good. He's coming to have a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles. Finds out the rest of the Giants rookies are all getting paid much larger bonuses. He went to the front office and asked them to put things right. They said no. He said, I'm out of here, and joined the Army. So went off to join the Army. He was 18 years old, never intended to play baseball again. After basic, went up volunteering to serve in Vietnam, went over to serve a year in Vietnam before coming back on a hardship discharge because his father was very sick and needed to support the family. Tough time. He was out in the bush the whole time in Vietnam. Tough road. Comes back and talks about having a tough time reintegrating, like a lot of Vietnam vets out there. But Garry Maddox going out and serving downrange in Vietnam, serving his country. So Garry Maddox, thank you very much for your example and for serving our fine country.
Wow, that dog is
I had to cut it short. This could be a longer one. I had to cut it down here a little bit, but look it up. It's a pretty cool story.
The people should know that a few shows back we were trolling around, like, looking for what or who we should use for veteran of the day, and we ended up on Jerry Coleman, the former second baseman and of the Yankees, and a Hall of Fame broadcaster, mostly with the Padres, and we ended up doing like half the show on Jerry Coleman because he was just like an unbelievable guy.
Yeah.
And we like the last show we did Al Bunbury, veteran of the day, Garry Maddox. I mean, you could do full shows just on these guys. Like it's amazing, the stories. So hopefully people will come in and they'll join us and blow up the live stream here a little bit. We got the comments open and running. Hopefully Uncle Paul will get in here. My sister now is asking me if I got a haircut. I did. Finally, a few weeks ago, I did get a haircut. In fact, that is the case. Thank you for noticing. It's always hard to notice with the virtual background anyway. Like my hair was way long, and you couldn't really tell because it kind of got like cut off over. You couldn't see like how far down it was going. But yeah, I did eventually get it cut. I didn't get it cut too short, but speaking of, okay, so look now, Frank is saying that Craig Carton was reporting that the Mets and Barrow deal was done, and um, he's been a pretty good source on this kind of thing. I think that Carton, I feel like he's had maybe an inside source on this, but for now, we don't have like the 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 full confirmation. But I feel like the Mets are the leader in the clubhouse, dog. That's what I'm feeling like.
Yeah, there was some reports. There was a couple. I was actually trying to look it up here now. After the carton, saying it on the air, which I don't think he. It sounded like just listening to him. It didn't sound to me like he had sort of an inside scoop on it. I think that was kind of more him talking with Eddie C, Eddie Coleman, beat reporter for the Fan for the Mets. Um, After that, it did sound like Bauer had agreed to a deal per a couple of stories out there, but nothing official out of him, nothing official out of Rachel Luba, his agent as well. So we'll still kind of wait and see. It sounds like both the Mets and the Dodgers were going shorter term with it. So the Mets' reputed deal was 3 years. You're 90 or 100. Some people were saying 90. Eddie C was sort of saying more like 100, which kind of seems to make sense to me. With the 1 year opt out and front loaded, which we'll come back to in a little bit because we sort of talked that the last time, and I'm still not entirely sure how that fits given the luxury tax cap that the Mets are supposedly operating under. Dodgers was supposedly offering something similar, but without an opt out. I think the Mets might have originally offered. I guess they're going 3. Bauer was kind of looking for 4, so they kind of compromised, cut a year, but then moved the opt out. I think a little bit earlier. I think Mets were thinking like 4 and opt out after 2. So regardless, it's kind of interesting. We talked a while back, right? Would Bauer sort of bet on himself and just go for the big bucks? And he was saying, "Hell, I'll do it for a year." He might be kind of backing it up. He might say, "You know what? I'll take my 37, and when I go out and throw, win 20 games for you, we'll come back out and renegotiate." And if you're Steve Cohen, if you go out and do that for me, and you're going to be worth even more next year, you know what? Cohen's in a position to take care of him, right? It's not like a true like he's just going to go walking away. The Mets have that optionality of then going and being able to continue to compete for his services. So
I don't
it's
know. I
it's
think if I
yeah.
if I was him, I would sign that deal with like the Cardinals, so I get to pitch against the NL Central for most of the season, and then I know I'm getting paid after that, like
But
after what he did last year. Okay, so I did get the text on the side that the members of the Mascolo real estate group are watching Diamond Diehards live, and I just want to say that's good news because that means that Garry is doing well in his battle with COVID. So Garry, I'm glad that you're out and watching. That's very good news. That's made my day and preoccupied a lot of my texting for the past couple of days. So that's a good job on that. Good job on that. Uh,
what a
here's the
great
thing.
day.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the
What
thing.
a
Here's
great
the thing.
day. All
Here's the thing, dog.
right,
So
bring me down.
so how did how does Bauer sign with the Mets, but somehow Riz still wins against you? Because if he signs with the Mets, that means I got every preseason, off-season prediction right. Every freaking one.
You called Bauer early. I was on the Springer bandwagon, and you were on the Bauer wagon. So yep, happy to let you have that one. Nice win by you.
If it is, if it is.
If it is, pending confirmation. I'm still scrolling by here. Trevor May thinks it's real. What we got
Wow.
here?
If Trevor May thinks it's real, then it might be real. Dog, you might be getting the
Might be
guy
breaking
here.
it. Might be breaking it. Might be breaking it here. I can't find it. Ugh,
I don't know.
it's too many. It's too many of these.
I,
They're all exactly the same. That's the problem.
I keep
I've got
refreshing
20
MLB.
guys saying the same thing.
I keep refreshing MLB.com. I think I should just. I'm on Twitter. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm living the Twitter. I did add Trevor Bauer to my feed.
well, I don't know. You
Once I
think
heard
he'd
it,
announce it on Twitter? He just would post a picture of himself on Instagram with the hat,
you can
right?
say congratulations to the Mets for like the 8th time this offseason.
The question is though, after this, Dog, if they get Bauer, then are you gonna go crazy if they don't sign Jackie Bradley Jr.? I mean,
I
listen,
don't think that fits. Without the DH, I don't like it. I'll be honest.
well, I mean, if basically he kind of mostly takes Nimmo's job at that point, or you
Yeah,
do
but
get
I
yourself
like
a little,
Nimmo.
you get yourself a little insurance against Dom Smith too, if you do that,
Yep.
right?
And for the, I mean, you figure the DH is coming next. This is what I've sort of reconciled myself with Jackie Bradley Jr. is that it does give you optionality. Supposedly next year's off season is not great for outfielders. It's kind of like Conforto and like not a lot else, from what I've seen. So hopefully Mets take Conforto off that list. But sort of makes it that um, if you do have Dom Smith and you want to move him to DH, you might need somebody else, right? Like it, like it is.
I have not. I have not. I interrupted Dog there without
Didn't
interrupting
move
you.
me over to the blue. That's it.
I
Bob Nightingale is the one who's reporting it. I know who Bob Nightingale is, to be honest.
wait.
Sorry
No,
about
but
that.
just you shouldn't have said that out loud because that makes you sound bad because he's a
What?
pretty like he's like a 70-year baseball
I
reporter.
don't know. No
He's
problem. I just got onto
like
Twitter. What do you say?
a lot of with a lot of credibility. Yeah. So
Well, he says
basically,
he has the deals. There we go.
what I
Hat tip to Bob.
what I did
I
to
haven't followed him
Dog,
before.
I changed the background on the video from. I haven't had it off of the Diamond Diehards logo for quite a while, but I do. I have Trevor Bauer up behind me now, in the Reds. He's wearing the Reds uniform and pointing, but it's like it's such a Bauer, looking pose kind of thing. All right, so let's see. You're saying Bob Nightingale.
So the Mets and Bauer have a deal.
Let's see.
He has been
Uh,
on top of the Bauer market all winter.
Really?
For
Well,
somebody else.
Rising Apple on Twitter says at this point, I trust Florence Nightingale more than Bob Nightingale for baseball news.
Ain't interesting. 2 hours ago, so this is kind of after all the stuff is breaking. Rachel Luba retweets out that down to 2. And she says, apparently this needs a retweet with a little crying face. Interesting.
Oh,
Interesting.
really?
Oh, really? That isn't a really. Oh, really? So we'll see. Maybe it is down to 2. I mean, obviously the Dodgers could do it. Dodgers throwing an opt-in right there. Got to be right there.
I'm going. There's like a couple of scenarios here. Okay, so he
Oh, you're
says
gonna do the surprise
5 years.
Yankee one here. I know where this is going.
Okay. Bob Nightingale, 5-year, $200 million deal, making him the highest paid athlete of all time with an average annual value of 40 million. I don't know. That might be somebody just
That seems a
saying.
little.
I didn't see the actual. There is a lot
That
of
seems chunky.
non Bob Nightingale love on Twitter happening right now, by the way. So if you're standing by Bob Nightingale, he's well, let's say he's got some type of reputation that's preceding him at the moment, and I guess not all of it is
See,
shiny.
Mark
So
Feinsand saying not a deal yet.
okay, now Mark Feinsand is a former colleague of mine, so I will say that if Mark Feinsand says it's not a deal yet, it's not a
And
deal
so did
yet.
Rachel, about the same time too. So
Okay, so here's my Doug. Here's my scenarios. I did go Bauer to the Mets.
they are killing Bob. I'm catching up to those now.
Yeah. I
There's a lot of heat.
I went when Bauer to the Mets was not the popular opinion. I was all in on Bauer to the Mets. Why? Because I think if you're gonna blow the dough and you're gonna swing for the fences, I'll swing and miss on the pitcher who's showing me that he's got the potential to be like a front of the rotation, like a one. a 1A or even a number two. I mean, on the Mets, like if you're the number two starter, Jacob DeGrom's the number one. I mean, so being a two on the Mets is like being a one practically anywhere else. So I'm gonna swing and miss on that if I'm gonna do that. And that was before Steve Cohen actually bought the team, right? So I think that what you have here is you have these reports that it's down to two teams. Everybody seems certain it's between the Mets and the Dodgers, which then kind of leaves it up to the player, right? Like, do you want to go? Do you want say it's the same money, say it's almost the same deal? Do you want to live in L.A. or do you want to live in New York? Um, you know, I guess if you like taxes, you don't care. You'll live in either one. But you'd probably pray that like a Florida or Texas team offered you like three-quarters of that, so you could end up with more in the end. But I just can't help but think. I thought this in the afternoon when I started to hear that like it was going to be down to these two teams, and I said it in our little chat that I can't, if the price is really where it is, I just can't imagine the Yankees are not kicking the tires. I know they're signing, you know, Jameson Tyone. Well, they're not signing him;
Every
they
every
traded
other
for
guy
him.
who didn't pitch last year.
Well, I mean, Corey Kluber, it was Bauer's buddy, and his former teammate in Cleveland, and I just can't imagine the Yankees wouldn't be in there kicking the tires. But what I would say is whether it's the Yankees or not, I just feel like if other teams start to see what these terms are and they're being actually leaked, somebody's going to come in strong. Somebody's going to come in strong. Even if Rachel Luba, his
Who's
agent, is
left with the
saying
dough?
down to two. Rachel Luba would be the best agent in the world if she said, "Well, you know what? We were down to two, and then the Yankees came in and they offered like 10 million more, so we just ended up going there, right?" Or maybe the Blue Jays, who I said weren't going to spend in it. But that's one thing I kind of was wrong about. I'm doing like a Mike Francesa and like hedging my bet. Like I said the wrong thing, but now I'm claiming that it was framed the wrong way, even though I said it and
By
you can go back
yourself.
and listen to it. Yeah, by myself. Yeah. But like the Blue Jays waited for that market to go way down before they jumped in on Springer and some of these other guys. I mean, they got Marcus Semien for $8 million for a year. Like, I mean, come on, like that guy in another year would have been getting like 18 million over, for a year for 3 years probably. Like, so um, you never know. They might see and be like, hey. I mean, we paid Springer 150. I mean, what the hell? We'll go 110 for 3 years with an opt out for Bauer. We don't have to give up anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams really got an idea what the terms were, and then Rachel Luba comes back tomorrow, and everybody's like, dude, well, not dude, but uh,
Hey, Rachel.
Rachel. Amen. Hey, woman. Uh, how come it was down to two? You even tweeted it was down to two. Everybody knew it was the Mets and the Dodgers. Yeah, well, the Giants came in late, and he was just waiting for them the whole time. I mean, any of this stuff could happen right now. But listen, I will say
One
this.
year 40. Someone just walk in, boom. You're gonna do the opt out anyway. Here's 40 mil. Come with us. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I
Maybe.
mean, there's
Right?
how many teams are even in that position though? Like you got to have two. You got to have two scenarios that are happening there. The team has to be a contender, right? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to pay him 40 million for one season.
Yep.
They have to be a contender. They have to have the funds. So, besides the teams that are already involved, I don't know that. I mean, 1 year,
Angels.
40 million. Are they contender?
I mean,
I
you're
mean,
paying out a ton, right? I mean, at some point you got to do a smart move, right? I mean, they've gotten all the rest. They need pitching desperately. I'm just swagging stuff around on there. I don't see the Blue Jays. I think are are choked already on what they've brought in already. Um, who knows?
They could be,
Who knows what the Cubs, right? The Cubs are getting rid of everybody else, and they start turning around. So I'm not quite sure what the Cubs are doing right now.
well, they didn't get rid of everybody yet.
Yes, right. So that's what I mean. Like they could say, "Hey, we freed up some, and now, well, this is a different world."
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case, but
The
that's
one year,
possible,
the 1 year world.
right?
How
I
about the
mean, that's
Padres?
oh God, oh God, Lord, that would be sick. Oh, that would be sick. That would
They're
actually be kind of
already
fun.
like,
Even though it would hurt the Mets, that'd actually be kind of fun.
but
Because
see, there's not much.
we deep down kind of root for the Padres. So a little
There's
bit.
not that much difference between saying that he would go to the Padres as opposed to like the Yankees at this point, because they've kind of done the same thing. Like they've just stockpiled all these starting pitcher arms and increase their odds that one of those guys is going to hit big and maybe the other ones hit solidly, and maybe a couple end up being busts, where you're like, okay, well, we just don't have to pitch him, we'll be fine. Look, it took us to past 2 days past Groundhog Day to get to this point, but I don't know. I see the most excited dog that we've seen since games are being played. I feel like you're even more excited than when the games are actually being played. Although we did some of these shows, if you go back in the archives and especially the
A
Friday
lot,
night shows, it seems like we were doing
a lot
these
of pain.
Friday night shows,
A
and
lot of
every
pain.
time there was like the Mets would lose like
Painful fashion.
in the night, but they beat the
Except the
Yankees that
one
one time.
time against the Yankees. That the one time.
Yeah, and I had to suffer through that. So yeah, but the dog is excited. Um, I can't blame him. All indications here are that out of all the teams in baseball, that Trevor Bauer is. We're making the Mets the favorite here in the clubhouse, and
Yeah, I mean that was always my contention, right? Was that with Steve Cohen, the Mets now got last look, right? So now it's interesting. So now it seems like the Mets have sort of said this is where we're going, and it feels like other teams have just not been able to kind of get to where the Mets go. It's interesting too. Teams are being reluctant to go long on Bauer, which is another interesting wrinkle, right? I mean, there's a lot of teams that could have just gone 5 years, right? And just said, hey, we're willing to go for it. Like normally a guy like this would be a longer thing. I mean, I was swagging with you earlier, like four 140. I mean, that seemed reasonable, maybe even a little bit low. And I thought maybe some incentives and stuff on that. And it seems like nobody's even going to the four. Never mind I mean, most of them you take a five to get somebody there, right? I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr. wants 4 years. It's like,
who?
yeah, exactly. Like, dude, you're getting like 8 million for two. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's sort of interesting in its own right. That and there's big money teams that are around and available, and there's obviously some question on what sort of consistency you have with Bauer. I mean, that was the sort of argument back earlier when I was saying Springer versus Bauer, right? Is that it was one thing when you had DeGrom, you had a long track record of consistency. Bauer's been a little bit up and down, and you're kind of counting on the fact that he's turned things around, the spin rate, all the sort of inside baseball sort of stuff that says he's a different pitcher now, and he may be, right? So that's why the 1 year thing kind of works on both sides. If he goes out and proves it, you know what, Stevie will kick in more dough to keep the best guy around if he has to.
I mean, but dog, the 1 year deal. I mean, that always favors the team. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just
Well, I mean,
you're not.
he's got two more. If he goes and blows it, right, he's still got 2 more years. I mean, he's not
Yeah,
totally a host here, right? I mean, he's got another 60 mil or so coming in to
yeah,
solve
but
his wounds.
like in general, I mean that you're not really taking any risk by doing that. And if the guy likes it there and you like him, you could always just re-sign him before he even hits the market again, right?
Yep.
So it's really like, I mean, I think that in the pandemic, you're seeing a lot of this now. And, I think after the pandemic's over next year, the owners are going to still try to keep the market like that. And the agents are going to go back to saying, okay, I want more years now. I want more years. I want the security.
Yeah.
Right now, the security is just not available. So, you got to take what you can get. And look, I mean, we've seen it in all sports over all the years since free agency has become a thing. And that thing is that if you hit it right, you could be a very good player in a great year for free agents and absolutely crush. And at other times, you could be a superstar in a horrible year for free agents and either have to wait it out or incur more risk or something, and or just end up taking a deal that would have been double in other years. I mean, Jason Bay, look at him. I mean, talk about a guy that hit it right at the right time, right? And then
Wow.
he did.
Wow.
He was a
Why don't you bring up Alomar?
no. I brought up
Let's keep it going.
I brought up Jason Bay because he killed me in the Strat League yesterday. in the, in the,
We all
so
know Riz is just trying to kill time until the strat results get released, and he can
I
say
know
how he swept somebody.
I literally just updated the page right now. No, so in the Stratomatic thing, so okay,
We should probably stay focused on Bauer to keep
well,
our
I'm just going to do
readers in.
the little aside here because we're not going to do a whole show on this, but we're we got to give our Stratomatic Elite Media Experts League update. And so Jerry Milani got us invited into this league. There's 12 teams. They're managed by superstar managers and Dawg and I. Dawg has the Mets. I have the Cardinals. And basically what it is the decade of the aughts, the 2000s, the first decade of the 2000s. You get to make a roster of players who played at one point for your team in the 2000s. And long story short, they're kind of like super teams. 60 game season, uh, and each night for about 3 weeks, the people at Stratomatic 365 play. They play off the games automatically. So you have these like computer managers, and you got to put on all your stuff first and set it and forget it. They hit a button, all the games get played, and you get box scores and stuff and play by play. So through 9 games, out of the 12 teams here. Let's see. I got to get the standings up before these games are played tonight. So, Dawg's Mets are tied for first at 5-4, despite being outscored by 15 runs. So he's got a minus 15 run differential, which is that is the worst in the league. And Dawg has an above 500 record, and he's tied with Sweeney Murdy and the Yankees. And Joe Lemire's Boston Red Sox and Steve Gardner's Baltimore Orioles are 4-5, and that's the East. In the Central Division, Bob Kendrick and Tom Mitzoff, their Royals and Reds respectively are 5-4. My Cardinals are 4-5, and I'm tied with Rob Beardenfull with his Pirates. In the West, the Giants of John Miller. Yes, that John Miller, 7-2. The Dodgers 5-4. That's Hal Richmond. He's the guy who started and invented Stratomatic. And then at 3-6, the Seattle Mariners of Seth Everett and the Texas Rangers of Evan Grant. So we're waiting for those games to be played. They usually get played later in the evening. I'm waiting for those results to pop in. I just lost. I won my first series, and then I lost 2 out of 3 the next couple. So, and I'm playing the Royals tonight. So it's the I-70 series. Go check the Twitter at Diamond Diehards, everywhere, blah, blah, blah. We did our little aside on that. I imagine Dawg is still hitting refresh on Twitter and MLB.com to see if we got any news. In the meantime, Uncle Paul has checked in. Hello, Uncle Paul. He is now, of course, anchoring the comments over there. So we've had a lot of good comments here. A lively comment room from the beginning. And oh boy, Dawg chimes in. The Angels get Dexter Fowler from the Cardinals for cash, and a player to be named. That's big, Dawg. I think what they're doing is the Cardinals are clearing room for Trevor Bauer.
It is a salary dump. We'll see. Looking for somebody.
Oh.
We're looking for somebody.
They are my Cardinals. All right, let's see. Also in the chat room, Angelo Mascolo. What's the news with Brett Gardner? Yanks going to let him walk. I hear that they probably won't let him walk. That he wants to go back. They want him back to some certain degree, and maybe there's just no rush. I mean, hey guys, don't rush. It's we have to be at we have to be in Florida in a week. Um, so I don't know if it's going to happen right away. I sense that he's going to end up back there because of the things that he brings. And if you look at the Yankees outfield, it's and their lineup, there's just not many guys that um, bat anywhere but from the right side. So you have Aaron Hicks, and after that, it's like question marks all over the place, and almost the entire team's right-handed. I don't see Mike Ford grabbing a lot of playing time. So and with your DH Manning with Stanton over there, so they're mostly right-handed, and the emergence of Clint Frazier makes them even more right-handed. So Guardy's a guy that you're going to want to keep around probably if you're the Yanks. You can keep limiting his playing time, but as we saw last season, that was the plan for last season, and he ended up playing a lot. So with the COVID era stuff and the extended roster, Dog, we could talk about that. You get 26 guys per game and 27 for double headers. No DH in the National League, right? And it looks like they're going to play the 162 game schedule instead of the 154 with the compromises. No expanded playoffs. It's kind of like business as usual, and they didn't integrate really any of the changes that we were hoping for, at least except for the expanded rosters, which I think is good. I think is good. I think it's probably about time that they had done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Of course, I'm still thinking about Bauer here, but I am wondering for the Metsies, do they need to clear some room? Because I still wonder on that luxury tax cap. That sounded like a pretty hard and fast to me with the other owners and stuff. So sort of wondering different ideas. I mean, clearing Mats was part of it, right? So that netted you down about 3 million or so. I think Mats is like 5.5. I think um, Casey, I think, was like around 2 and change or something like that, or just low 3 maybe. Familia, this one that's been bandied about as maybe a potential salary dump. You got all this. I mean, they've got a pretty deep pen at this point already. You just signed a guy who should be going 7 innings a day. Do you need all that sort of money tied up on there? Do you just trade him for a bag of balls for someone else who can go and cut him? And just Stevie cuts the check. That's a possibility. Do they extend Stroman? Stroman's got 18 million. I
I'm
wouldn't.
thinking
I
no,
agree with you. I wouldn't either. I'm a little skeptical on him, frankly. I'd like to see him go do a full year here for us and do well, and then we'll see. Interesting too. Next year when the Mets, weirdly, they got a great rotation now. They got 3 guys who could potentially be hitting the market next year between Stroman, Syndergaard, and Bauer, if Bauer is actually on the rotation. So that's kind of an interesting sort of wrinkle there. That for the Messies, that they look solid and everything, but they may need to extend, and they got to extend Lindor, and they got to extend Conforto. There's a lot of guys who might be playing for dinner for the Mets, which is not bad for the first year, right? A little competition on it, but Steve's got to write some checks next year. That's for sure.
Dog.
What?
We have a 3-year deal officially announced. Tommy
sure.
LaStella, 3 years, 18.75 million with the Giants.
You read. I was gonna say I felt pretty good about breaking the Dexter Fowler over here.
I know.
3 year, what was that? What was the one you did with me that one before? With the Yankees signing somebody when the Mets are doing a Lindor trade.
Oh yeah,
the guy got the 1 year.
Greg Allen. Greg Allen.
That's it. That was it.
They traded for Greg Allen from the Padres.
Big deal in New York.
Oh boy, Tommy LaStella, Giants. Oh baby, you got the Giants, baby. Everybody's up and look at the Giants. You got the Dodgers, you got the Padres.
Let's see. So
the Giants.
Who we got left here? So Jackie Bradley Jr. probably the last one on the sort of second tier. If Bauer's gonna be done, in the next day or so. That's kind of about it, right? I'm trying to think if there's anybody else really of significance out there. You can't.
there's always going to be guys that pop up that you're just not thinking of. I mean,
Yeah,
Marcelo Zuna. What about him?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, so
Probably Braves.
that's an interesting angle, though. That's an
Yeah,
interesting angle because, like, once they make the announcement that the National League is not going to have the DH, Nelson Cruz immediately re-signs with the Twins for a year and 13 million. Obviously, he was holding out because if the National League was going to have a DH this year, he might have had,
yeah.
more
Pretty good market.
suitors, more money, more years, whatever it is. And, once that went out of the way, he just grabbed the 13 million because, if you were the Twins, would you rather have him back at a year of 13 million or maybe have paid Ozuna for a few years and maybe a little bit more money? I don't know. You can make a good case for Ozuna. Um, Again, like you say the Braves dog, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, the guy's pretty brutal in the field, right?
Yeah,
Like they don't want to have him out there. Where are they going to put him anyway? So, I mean, they could put him in left. They could
yeah.
put him in left, but
They've had it.
it, it's I don't know. Like uh, I'm just trying to look at these American League teams. Like you feel like, I mean, you can't go. Where's it? You can't go to the Red Sox, right? You got because you got JD Martinez there still. I mean, that he's not going to the Twins. He's not going to the Yankees. Um, where's he going to go at this point? Like he's not going to the White Sox, right? I mean, they're. How about the Blue Jays? Everybody goes to the Blue Jays now. You might as well just go to the Blue Jays. I'm trying to think of these teams that are like left-handed. The funny thing is, dog. Funny thing is, um, if the Mets were ever going to have a butcher in left field anyway, having a big right-handed butcher in left field would probably be just a little bit better than having a left-handed hitting butcher in left field. Although I love Dominic Smith, you know that he's like
He's not going anywhere.
but you know Ozuna in left for the Mets could could that could work out really really well if you
I've kind
wanted
of.
to.
We have enough guys who can't play the field. That's we're trying to go the other way.
Well, clearly, yeah, but here's the thing, right? If you let's just say, because Steve, we're writing Steve Cohen's checks these days. Um,
Yes, we are.
let's say they could, independent of the Bauer deal. I mean, independent of that. Uh, let's say they sign Jackie Bradley, right? Is that one a fait accompli? I don't know, but it seems like he's they're the biggest suitor for him, and you could very well argue that there is a fit there. Now, if you make Nimmo your caddy in left field and Ozuna the main left fielder, right? You could sit Ozuna when you want. You could, Nimmo goes into the game late. He's still a capable bat for you, right? And he could play when you need him to play. In the American League parks, Ozuna could DH, right? And then you could move Dominic Smith if you're gonna think about trading him. I mean, his value is probably pretty decent at this point. He's the harder commodity to get because he bats left-handed and he hits both sides. He's got a great attitude. He brings a lot to the clubhouse. You
You
don't have to worry about him off the field one single bit, and he's under control. He's not making a lot of money, and he's a stud type of stick.
and
So
he got
he's
in a
got
fight with Mickey Callaway, so that's good.
yeah. So I mean,
He was early.
yeah. So he's a pretty nice fit in a lot of places. I mean, if a team has availability at first, if a team has availability in the outfield, if it's an American League team, I mean, could you trade him to the Rays for a nice pitching prospect?
I mean,
Probably you could probably get something pretty. Like if you were talking deal with Tampa, I mean, that could be a nice little avenue for you. I mean that, and then that lineup becomes even more fierce, in my opinion. Although I love Dominic Smith, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I don't know. That has sort of like come back to bite you, written all over it. In my opinion, I mean, if I was going to trade Dominic, well, first you have to decide, is it Dominic Smith or Polar Bear, right? So everyone's like, Dom Smith's always I mean, Dom Smith's a better fielder, frankly, than Polar Bear. The question becomes is, what do you trade him for? I mean, the ideal fit is you trade him for a center fielder, right? And you solve the problem. It was Nimmo over to left. See, the problem is I don't see, if you're going to move that stuff around, the natural solution is Nimmo is your left fielder. So I mean, he's above average left fielder, and he's a good hitter. Oh, by the way, like, I mean, it's just MLB Network, right? He was like number 5 for like center fielders, right? I mean, I think that's too high because he's not a good enough fielder or whatever. But I mean, you want to play the guy. So I mean, if you make a move, to me, you have to make a move that opens it up for Nimmo to be there. I mean, for pitching prospects, maybe. I mean, that could work, right? Almost always, you feel like long term that's probably the right sort of trade. Or the natural fit right away is we've got 2 left fielders and we need a center fielder. Trade a left fielder to get the center fielder, if you could make that happen. Again, not sure if that matches up for anybody directly on there. I said, or you do the roundabout and you trade for prospects, and then you go and get a center fielder. Is the other way to do it. I got a feeling, I think they can be done. I'll say I got a feeling they're not actually going to make the move for Jackie Bradley Jr. is my guess. I think Bauer's basically eating up the rest of it, and I think they're going to roll with Nimmo. And then, you know what? They'll wait and see if they got to make adjustments during the year. I mean, it was funny before Bauer tending to announce. I was kind of leaning towards that myself, of just saying, just keep the cash and say, we'll pick up somebody along. We'll see how things go. Maybe Nimmo plays better, and it's okay. Probably not, right? But we'll probably need to get somebody in there at some point. Or in pitching, hey, let's see if Syndergaard comes back. If he's good to go and Peterson's good to go, maybe we don't really need another pitcher. Or you want to pick up a number 4 guy just to kind of stabilize there if somebody gets injured or something like that. You have that flexibility during the year, especially teams are going to be kind of, teams are are hurting for cash anyway for coming off of last year, right? So they're going to be quicker to pull the trigger on writing off the year this year, be my guess. So if it's a case where you spent a lot, I don't know if you need to go for it with Jackie Bradley Jr. I think you sort of wait and see and say, what, let's see how things go. Maybe you get a Lorenzo Cain or something like that, halfway through the year or something like that. Someone says, you know what, out you go. Let's pop it in. Nimmo's just killing us out there. It's not going to work, or whatever. Injuries open up something, right? And then you go and you fit in that solution. Versus, like I said, if I got to sign Jackie Bradley Jr. and sit Nimmo, I don't love that.
Yeah, well, I don't either. But I'm saying if you did that,
it's okay for next year. That's the one that would say, but
it's just a different way to sort of solve the problem. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like by getting
well, I mean, you get the big right-handed hitter in left field, and then you get the glove in center who bats lefty, and then your other outfielder is the lefty guy who slots in well in left field if you have problems with Ozuna there. So I don't know. What if the Rays called you up and offered you Pete Fairbanks for Dominic Smith? Would you take that? Would you be? Are you still listening?
Well, if the Rays are trading with me, that means I'm probably going to lose this trade. if we're being perfectly honest here, right? So number 1 is, if I'm Sandy, I'm already having a rough couple of weeks here. Like I go over Porter. I get nailed for Callaway again. If I trade off the super popular Dom Smith and wind up getting roasted by the Rays, that'd be the strike 1, 2, and 3. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the interesting thing for the Mets is, what, they need to restock the pitching. They're going out and doing it the expensive way right now, but there is some truth to that. That your excess position players right now, which is really weird to say for the Mets, because that's never happened. And like I said, you've got 60% of your rotation could walk away at the end of the year. And you've got DeGrom and Peterson and Carrasco, I guess, for another couple of years. So you may need to restock that. I mean, so that does feel like if in Stratland we would cut the deal, right, and some would sort of move around. It's always tougher in real baseball and whatnot. But yeah, you've got two left fielders, you've got no young pitching, and you need a center fielder. I mean, that's still kind of true for the Metsies. It's just, or you trade Nimmo for a good center fielder, right? That's the sort of other way to do it. If you can sort of max value there and just say, Smith is all right, Smith is this, and then he's going to write DH next. The problem is you get the DH coming next year. Like that's the real rub.
I don't know though. Do
You
you?
think? Yeah, well, true. That's
I
fair.
thought so too, and up until they just like slammed the brakes on that one.
I don't know. They got something. It's obviously going to be ugly next year. I think that's very much a clear takeaway. Is that the players and the owners are. We saw that maybe there was a little bit of a detente over the summer, and we had a couple of shows and stuff on that. I think detente's over. I think they're going back to the war for next year. So that's a fair point. The DH, everyone seems to kind of want it. Owners don't want to give it up as a chip until they get something else from the players. And I don't know. It's a fair point. Maybe it won't be as easy a thought as we have it now. But if you knew there was no DH coming, I'm more willing to trade Dom Smith.
Okay.
Because he's out of position and he fits better at first, or Alonso, either one, right? You pick on that one, and try and fit the position the way you think it's going to be. The problem is you could be staring the next 10 years of having a DH, and boy, you just had a great one and you just traded him.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean,
it's tough. It's a tough one, right? That's a tough spot if you're in the gym.
Honestly, the way I look at DHs these days, even, like I go back to the great Yankee teams where they didn't have a set guy at the DH. They just basically rotated the DH throughout the lineup, essentially. Like, one day it's going to be this guy, one day it's A-Rod, one day it's O'Neill, one day it's this guy, one day it's Bernie. I mean, one day it's Posada. I mean, to me, you get your regular position players, as many regular position players as you have, which the Mets have a lot. I mean, the Mets are not really looking at platoons here, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of like a perfect fit to not really have the DH. And that would be, to me, the best argument for just keeping Smith. And, like I just, in a perfect world, Dog, it's a right-handed hitting center fielder. And you just keep Nimmo there. And if you want to, if your right-handed hitting center fielder is not cutting the mustard, then you just put Nimmo in there, and that's that. And then, Nimmo moves over to left and plays there and caddies for Smith. And I mean, you're basically set. You get a little insurance with JD Davis as your third baseman, because he's not going to be great in left field, but he can go out there and play it for you. So, and I think still in their system, the way the Mets could probably come up with a guy to get by at third base, because they could just bat their third baseman eighth, at this point, like they're with the way the rest of the lineup is. So they're in pretty good shape no matter what. And the idea of them being in a situation where they would have a DH in the National League full time this year, it looks on the surface like it would be an advantage for them, but in the end, they're probably just as well off without it, with the makeup of the team that they have right now. Uncle Paul is asking how much they pay him. He's under team control. They don't have to pay him anything more than peanuts for probably a few more years. So
at least 2, I think.
So that's another reason why, as a trading piece, he's got some real potential, because you don't have to pay him. Nobody except anybody around here really knows who he is. And he's going to hit righties. He's going to hit lefties. He's going to play, a serviceable first base. He'll butcher up left field a little bit. And if you have a chance to DH him some of the time,
It's actually not bad first baseman.
No, I know he's not bad. Yeah. He's I don't know if he's above average, but he's average. He's serviceable there. Yeah. So, for a team like the Rays, and the Rays jump on guys like that all the time, and he'll go there and hit 26 homers, and
Not even arbitration eligible yet. Oof.
Yeah. So he's and he
2022, not free agent until 25,
yeah.
2.55 million.
Yeah, so he's not making anything. He's the kind of guy that, if the Rays were really looking to bolster their offense and you liked, some pitchers that they had, you could turn around and make a deal like that. I Dog
He's a great guy to extend long too. Man, I
Dog.
mean he's 25, do a 10-year deal. 10-year deal, 10
You
mil a
don't
year.
have to. You don't have to.
Don't have to. That's a nice deal to do though.
Why are you going to pay the guy for 10 years so he could hit 268 when he's 35 and have back problems?
Right, 8 years, whatever.
Okay,
Maybe
you're not
he
going to.
basically becomes a free agent when he's 29. So he's got one big contract that he's going to sign.
Yeah, so why extend him? Let him play the market then. I want you to be a GM in my division. Holy cow!
I want to get these guys cheap, man. I want to
You
get them
guys,
cheap and long. That's the way you do it. You rip it up early. You get them cheap.
yeah, but
That's
here's
the
the guy.
moral. That's the moral of the story. That's what
I don't
everyone's
want.
been doing.
I don't want him
Except for the
after he's
Mets.
20.
Everyone's going to go to free agent on the Mets. Now it's going to be a fortune.
I don't want him after he's
I'm bummed
29.
out already. I just won the World Series now. I'm already bummed out.
Okay, so what I think is funny is if you look in the chat. So if you're on the Facebook group, you can catch this right now, and if not, you can go back and watch it through there or fire through the comments. We definitely need you to hit that join button on there because you'll get a lot of good content as soon as it's coming out. You don't have to wait, and then there's other little tidbits, and it's really cool to be in the chat room. But so Angelo says, how do you feel about the Yanks rotation without Tanaka now? And this is from a few minutes ago. And I just think it's funny that between like 12 Uncle Paul comments, there's one comment and it's about Tanaka. Like Uncle Paul,
We
Uncle
lost to
Paul,
Naka.
Uncle Paul bought Tanaka's plane ticket back to Japan. That's how much Uncle Paul didn't want to see Tanaka back in anywhere. No, I overstate that. I think that if you're talking about the Yankees and Tanaka, I love Tanaka. I love Tanaka. He was like my favorite Yankee. Um, the numbers, Dog talked about this too. He always had the fear of the elbow and the Tommy John thing kind of hanging over him. He was relatively durable, but not somebody that you could always count on. But he got you 20 something starts a year, and maybe sometimes he got 30. His effectiveness did wane somewhat the past few years, and then this year in the playoffs, he didn't do so well the way he had done previously. The thing I like about a guy like Tanaka is that I feel like that's more of the exception than the rule. I would have gladly had him be around, but essentially for what they are paying Kluber and what they're paying Tyone, that they get two shots at the guy being good than one shot at Tanaka, which is probably what that would have cost. And they're willing to give these other guys a shot. Tanaka had another option, and he's headed back to Japan. So I wouldn't be completely floored if we saw Tanaka come back to the States again in a year, 2 years, whatever. Um, will it be with the Yankees? I think he would always be welcome back as long as it fit into the finances. But they must think he's done. I don't know.
Yeah.
They
And
didn't want to pay him what he was asking for, which would have been probably about 18 or 19 million, I guess, for this year. And I could, I could understand it. I could understand it, but I'd rather him be there. But that's just me.
yeah, I mean, it seems like it's got to be medical, right? If nobody else is willing to kind of take a shot on and stuff. I mean, I thought at some point even for the Metsies, I like that Manuel Paul didn't like that, but a nice, fairly stable innings eater doesn't have to blow it out, but a nice solid forward. This is before the Lindor Carrasco deal, but I think that's the kind of guy every team used. I think the Yankees could really still have used it, right? I mean, they have some high upside guys, but they have some guys with questions too. I mean, they kind of need somebody who's a 3-4, just stable, give you what you're getting out of them. And my guess is the medical chart just didn't say it, and that's why nobody else would bite on it either. Because he's a good pitcher. He has a definite role, and it wasn't an outlandish number. That was fair market value. And just nobody, and the fact that nobody else went for it either kind of makes you lean like it's probably a medical thing. So, but oh well.
He's gonna win the whatever the Cy Young is in the Japanese league.
Or blow his arm out entirely.
By the way,
That'd be done.
if you go into Twitter right now and you just type Bauer, it's just like if you're watching me, I don't know if you can see like my eyes are just right there, just to the left of where just to the left and below where the camera is. Some of these tweets are absolutely hilarious. Like it's just some guy saying Bauer's gonna announce the signing at 4:20 in the morning. Like here's a Spanish tweet. Let's go Mets. Are we doing this? Apparently, the Bob Nightingale love. Oh my goodness. People saying the Cardinals now need to sign him. Now that they cleared out Dexter Fowler, but now the Angel people are like, hey, he's coming here. He's got to come here.
Oh man.
This guy probably listening to us, Adam Varani, saying Bauer the kind of guy to announce his free agency decision at like 2:30 a.m. anyways. I mean, come on. We saw that tweet already. Okay, come on.
Be better than that.
Be better.
Sweeney.
This guy.
Sweeney should be setting up his lineup for tonight. He's got to focus a little bit here.
Cesar said, could the Cards be a surprise team to sign Bauer? Now I like this guy. This guy thinks the way I do. I'm gonna refresh and see if the strat games are played yet.
Good thing I walked the Diamond Dog before this.
Yeah. Oh man, they still haven't played. By this time last night, I think they had played them. It was not midnight. They tell us that it's going to be midnight, but it was definitely before midnight the other night.
You may have a problem. Not as bad as the problem is that when Mike Piazza gets hurt, and all of a sudden Rowan Castro's back in cleanup for me. Can't program that one at 1 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean Castro's hitting?
And I was about to make some moves today, but I didn't do it. I'm going to pick up Eli Marrero because he plays like the outfield and catches. And my catchers between Yadier Molina and Mike Matheny are hitting like, they have like 7 hits in like 9 games or something. It's like, or not even. I'm trying to program it so Mike Matheny can never actually bat. And not only did he bat, he batted in like the 9th inning when I was down by 1. I'm like, oh my God, how is this possible? Then he ends up at like first base. I'm like, why? Got to get somebody better on there.
I forgot about Justin Turner. He's still floating around.
Yeah, Dawg. I think there's a lot of guys that are still out there.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, if this Dominic Smith for Peter Fairbanks deal ever happens, then I just don't know what to say about myself if that happens.
That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
Like I'd be like an insider without insider information.
Who knew this? Get him on the horn.
All right, Dawg. A quick. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, no news yet. A quick. Yeah, you got anything for Diehard Dads for tonight? I know we just did one the other night.
Oh, I'm a single dad today because we got.
Wow, I was gonna say that's news.
Well, not forever, just for today. But yeah, Cat's down, dropping Katie off. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, drive down to North Carolina, and of course they got to ring the doorbell because somebody forgets their ID and somebody forgets something else, and the Diamond Dog is up like 3 times, and the Diamond Dog is very unhappy at the whole situation at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, no, that's about it. Now I get before the wife goes, she has to literally write out everything that has to happen at a certain time, and it's like my training schedule, and I follow it down there. If it doesn't go on that list, it simply doesn't happen. So I've got 3 pages of instructions on everything she does and keeps in her head. I write down each one, boom, 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 who has to go where. So that's the life of the Diamond Dog. The Diehard Dad. I'm kidding. Diehard Dad. I'm kidding. I'm only drinking tea. I'm only drinking decaf tea over here too. It's
Wow.
not even my usual bourbon.
Yeah, geez.
I was up at 6 in the morning, so there we go.
That's well,
So
I mean,
that was my Die Hard die. How about you? What any good Die Hard dad?
we got so in our master bathroom, my we had it redone a couple of years ago. Or maybe it was last year, I don't know. Seemed like a couple of years ago. Who the hell knows? I think it was 2019, something like that. Yeah. So that is a couple of years ago. Um my big midlife crisis thing was that I got a steam shower, which is phenomenal, and I use it like every single day. Um, but unfortunately, what we started to notice a few months back was that the saddle to get it. So of course, if you have a steam shower, you have to have like glass that seals, right? Like you got to keep the steam in, otherwise it's no use having a steam shower, right?
Yep.
So um, I notice the saddle that to get into the shower is like there's like a big crack in it. I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. It's settled pretty quick, and you know, we got a crack. And then it's like now the crack is like, okay, there's something going on underneath because it's starting to like lift,
Mm.
and obviously it's not going to be good. There was something, whatever they did when they were making it was you know, there was something going on there that they didn't do right. Builder came over, and contractor came over, took a look. He's like, yeah, we gotta just redo it. So
Oof.
for the past couple of days, they came in to, took the old one up. But they have to take the doors off, which is like a big deal because they're,
Yeah.
there's like
Big heavy.
tile and
Yeah.
everything, but they
Yeah.
they also have to be like caulked the right way. They have to be lined up like they can't just like half-ass it. It's got to be perfect because it's got to make the seal. So uh what this means is that, five of us are using the kids shower, and fortunately there's the kids are night showers and Debbie and I are morning showers, so we really haven't done that. But like, I'm trying to use like a normal shower now because the steam shower is like not just that, like it's big. Like you can have a picnic in there. It's awesome. It's like a great. I'm telling you,
I would have had like 10
versus.
kids if I had
Oh yeah, oh
that.
yeah. All the kids end up down the drain. So more of that later. Um, family show, not so, but I'm like, in the tub shower with the doors, I'm like I feel like I'm showering in a phone booth now, and I'm like, oh man, how come it takes me longer to shower when I'm in here? So there's no obstruction, and of course now like stuff is happening in the kids' bathroom, like the garbage gets thrown out. The 7-year-old empty bottles that have just been sitting there have now, been removed. The thing on the floor, that keeps you from slipping gets washed and rinsed off now every day. So yeah, I think they've benefited a little bit from me having to switch over there.
There you
And
go.
also it gives me way more ammunition now to use against the kids, which of course, as you
That's
know,
always a good day.
yeah, we wait for that key moment where you're like, and yeah, so that's what you were doing. I guess I guess now I know why I stepped on a bunch of overflowed garbage and 7-year-old bottles in your bathroom. Yeah, so that's I think that's my diehard dads segment of the day. And Butler chimes in and he's glad that I shower every day. Butler, I thought you'd be glad that I'm trying to manage your Cardinals to Stratomatic glory right now, but I don't know. You'll have to go back and listen to the beginning if you're just jumping in now. If you have just jumped in toward the end of this, we do appreciate that. We want to make you aware of the fact that you can actually subscribe here if you're watching on Facebook on the group. We don't want you to just watch, we want you to subscribe so you don't miss any of these impromptu shows. We did schedule this one like about an hour in advance. Dog called the emergency audible. We got on there. We gave Uncle Paul we gave him like a full hour's notice in the end. I think it ended up being Xavier Rizzo producing. He did mark the time for Diehard Dads because he knows that in the editing room later we're gonna have to put in the little transition music there. So if you watch it on YouTube, which we want you to do, and subscribe over there, you get like sometimes on the live stream the video and the audio looks a little, junkety. But on YouTube, we always manage to fix it a little bit, and by the time it goes up there and we put it on the Facebook page, the video looks a little bit better. So Xavier marks Diamond Diehard Dads around the 58-minute mark. Subscribers are what we need, Dog, and what we're trying to do here is build a little bit of a community and build out a little bit of a brand. So when it comes to things like baseball and Trevor Bauer and him being the big fish and me wearing a fishing vest, like you get it and you're part of it. And we've had a lot of interaction on the chat room tonight. And we've done more things like we've live streamed to more than just Facebook. We've live streamed at simultaneously to Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. But we've sort of reeled it back in a little more, and then I think once we build it up a little bit again, then we'll start live streaming back to all those other platforms. But for now, uh, this is the way we're doing it. And we need the subscribers. We need you to go on to iTunes if that's where you get your podcast, which is what, in my little impromptu polls and data, I find that most people that are listening to it listen there. So share it, listen, subscribe. Spotify is another one where people are. So that's my little spiel to push for that. Dawg, Trevor Bauer, if he signs, doesn't matter where he signs. I think that one of the first things that he and his agent should do is log on to fmsgraphics.com and send out those change of address cards, old school. Nothing like getting a physical card in the mail. So fmsgraphics.com could do that to you. If you want to make, Trevor Bauer pens or something like that, they could help you out with your promotional and printing needs. Maybe he goes to the Dodgers and they do a Dodger Trevor Bauer flashlight. fmsgraphics.com, the place to go for all that. Dawg, any closing thoughts? I tried to string it out there a little bit so you could be freed up to check the sites to see if we got any news.
Didn't come through. I was looking, strolling hard, but not nothing official yet. I guess we are waiting for 420. So we'll see on Trevor on that one. We'll see. Suppose he was checking out real estate in Long Island City. That was the rumor this morning. So we'll see.
Well, listen, that could go both ways.
That got poo-pooed though.
He
Plus
knows
he's got a lot of money. He could buy a couple different places.
and he knows he probably knows Southern California already, so he doesn't really necessarily have to look there. I mean, Long Island City could be the draw. that could
I was speculating. I'm like,
it
I'm not sure that's for him. He's got a girlfriend there or something. But
know.
apparently a bunch of Met players live there, so we'll see.
Maybe they have a maybe they have a good gym.
Yeah.
Wait, are you allowed to go to gyms in Long Island City?
or
Los Angeles? Or Los Angeles? You got to buy your own gym.
Yeah, he can do it.
Okay, so if you joined late, like our pal Butler, what did you miss? Well, you missed a lot of fun speculation about what's going to happen with Bauer. We were kind of hoping that we could string this out. Dawg says, "Hey, let's go late night, see if we could nail it as it happens." At this point, if you're listening, it's down to 2, and those 2 are believed to be the Mets and the Dodgers, with the Mets being the favorite. That's Rachel Luba tweeting from her account about that actual thing. So is that a fact? Well, it's a fact that she tweeted it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're down to 2. I still think there's that scenario where one of these teams could come in late. It could be Butler's Cardinals, who just got rid of Dexter Fowler, or it could be the Yankees. It could be, it could be the Angels. It could be anybody. It could be the Astros. Who knows? It could be the Astros. That was one of the teams I thought actually would maybe sign him. But I was saying, if you're the Mets, you should be all in on him. Make that mistake, make it on the pitcher, and he's worth a shot for sure. And they're pretty much set at this point, whether they got him or not. He's He's kind of like gravy. So, sometimes you need the gravy to mash
The World Series. I want
the,
my
the
series.
potatoes. You need the
I want my
gravy to
World
mash the
Series.
potatoes. I don't know, something like that.
I want to win the World Series in
What'd you
5
think of the
years.
vest, Dog? What'd you think of the vest? Was
I
that a
like
good
the
touch
vest.
tonight?
I'm digging the vest. I always like a nice, strong-looking vest. That's a nice vest right there.
It doesn't look as much like a fishing vest, except like when I back up, like you can see these things.
Yeah,
Like
there you go.
the
Now you're in the fishing mode
the
there.
little hook. It's not really
Yeah.
a fishing vest. It's kind of like the vest that you'd wear to go hiking in Australia or in the desert or something like that. It looks like, but
Urban camo.
urban camo. Damn, he's good. That's why he's the dog. And it was a very good Butler. You missed a very good veteran of the day. So tune in to the beginning. If you're doing an Uncle Paul and you're watching, like you catch the live stream later, you're popping in and out. You're Angelo, you have a small attention span. You're Garry, you just got out of the hospital. You're like, this is about enough. If I could take of my brother-in-law here, I got to go to sleep, but I want to catch up to the show another time. You go on iTunes, download it, and listen back there for the veteran of the day, something we do every show, and we're quite proud of it. We like to support our military, and Dawg is our veteran of the day emeritus always, but we just choose to honor others as well. So, Dawg, I think that's going to do it. Did we cover everything that there is to possibly cover at this point?
We've covered the facts. We've done our speculation, and we just gotta wait.
And I did nail you with that Tommy LaStella deal.
Oh, the Riz.
You got rizzed. That's not the first time.
That
might not even be the first time today you got rizzed, actually, come to think of it.
That is true.
All right, that'll wrap it up. If you want to follow the dog on Twitter, he's Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. And if you want to follow me, it's Rear Naked Choke, all one word. If you like podcasts about mixed martial arts, I do one of those as well. It's Rear Naked Choke Radio. You can find that on all the places that you watch and listen to your podcast. It's been going since 2007, still going strong. And keep looking out for those things there. Follow this show at Diamond Diehards pretty much everywhere, including Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Trevor Bauer Big Fish is ready to be caught edition of the show. That's going to do it. I'm Joe Rizzo for the dog, Jeff Healy. Diamond Diehards is out.